Hi, this is Don with Ridge Engineering. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can clean your data if you collect the data with these new programs that run on phones and tablets. These are becoming more and more popular. We're seeing more and more people using these programs, and they work okay, but they're not great. And the problem with them is the GPS receiver that is in a phone or in a tablet is just not as good as a GPS receiver that you put on the roof of your car. The chipsets aren't as good, and the data that you get is a little rougher. And even if you put the phone in the windshield area of your car, it still doesn't have the same line of sight to the satellites that a dedicated receiver that's mounted on the roof of your car, stuck there with a magnet, like the GPS receivers that we like to use are. And often these programs, Map My Tracks is a popular one that people use, doesn't collect data every second. It collects data every 2 seconds or 3 seconds. And that can work, but it's just not as good as collecting it once per second. And we found that the data that you get out of those tend to be a little jittery, which I'll explain in a minute. But there's a way of cleaning the data up to make it a lot better and make the data analysis better. So I'm going to start a new study, and I have a folder that has some data files. First, I'm going to select a normal data file that was collected with a GPS receiver on the roof of the car, and then I'm going to show you data that was collected with Map My Tracks on a analog, not an Android tablet. All right, so I'm going to take a look at this first run, and there's now we've added some software to the latest version of PC Travel 3. So when you click on the Edit Run button, you see a plot of the data, and you can see that this is nice and smooth and continuous, and as you go through it, there's not much of a change from 1 second to another. Now just sort of try to remember what that looks like. And now I'm going to look at the jittery data, and you can see how much more jagged this is as it's going down. And that's just because the data just isn't as good from these GPS receivers, and the speed that is recorded is a little bit off from second to second or every other second, and you end up with this slight jaggy looks. Now, this isn't terrible for normal analysis, but if you're calculating fuel or emissions, this causes a problem, because one of the major components of the calculation of fuel and emissions is acceleration. And acceleration is a change in velocity from second to second. And if you see all these little jags, those are all accelerations as far as the software is concerned, and they add to the total of the fuel or emissions as this calculation goes along. And the results we found this because the results of a particular user didn't make any sense. And so we saw this jagged data, and in PC Travel 2, which was designed about 12 years ago, before we used GPS receivers, we had a feature in the software that would clean up data, because the way we used to collect data with a transmission sensor in a car would generate data that looked like this all the time. And so we had to have ways of smoothing that out. So we took the same code that was in PC Travel 2 that we didn't think we're going to need in PC Travel 3 and added it into PC Travel 3. So now you can see if you have jagged data like this, you just click on the smooth data button and you can see the software goes and it does a little smoothing routine and it makes the data look a lot smoother. Still not perfect, but it's much better. And now when you analyze this data, it gives you results that look a lot more reasonable. So if you're collecting data with Map My Tracks or something similar on a phone or a tablet, then we recommend that you look at the data, look at each run, and if it looks jaggedy, just hit the smooth button and then it'll smooth it out, and then you can save the run. You either change the name or use the same name, save the run, and then that will be use that run in your studies. So check this out. You probably only need it if you use the Map My Tracks or something similar on a phone or a tablet. We haven't seen data requires this type of smoothing if you collect it with a good receiver, on the outside of the car. But here's a new feature that will help analyze your data and make your data a little bit better. Thanks.